When you look at the world, what you see, hear, and believe feels real. But what if it's not reality itself? What if everything you experience is a representation, a mental map created by your senses, language, and consciousness, and that map is not the territory it describes? This provocative idea comes from Alfred Korzybski, the Polish-American philosopher and scientist whose groundbreaking work in the early 20th century reshaped our understanding of perception, meaning, and human thought. His famous phrase, "The map is not the territory," captures a profound truth. We don't interact directly with the world as it is. We interact with the models and interpretations our minds construct. In this video, we'll explore Korzybski's insights into how language shapes consciousness, how our maps of reality define the meaning we assign to experience, and how expanding our awareness can free us from the limitations of our mental representations. Alfred Korzybski was born in 1879 in Warsaw, Poland, and trained as an engineer and mathematician before emigrating to the United States. During World War I, he served in the Russian army, where he became fascinated with how communication, belief, and perception influenced human behavior, especially in times of crisis. In 1933, he published his seminal book, Science and Sanity, introducing general semantics, a field that examines the relationship between language, meaning, and consciousness. Korzybski's mission was ambitious: to teach humanity how to think about thinking and recognize the gap between reality itself and our representations of it. He argued that many of humanity's personal conflicts and social problems arise because we confuse our maps, our beliefs, concepts, and words, with the territory, the complex dynamic reality beyond our perceptions. By becoming aware of this distinction, he believed, we can learn to navigate life with greater clarity, flexibility, and compassion. Korzybski's central insight can be summarized in his most famous phrase, "The map is not the territory." Just as a geographical map is not the land itself, but a simplified representation, our thoughts, beliefs, and models of the world are not reality. They are approximations shaped by our senses, language, and cultural conditioning. For example, the word tree is not the living, breathing organism it describes. It's a symbol pointing to an experience. Similarly, scientific theories, religious doctrines, and personal identities are conceptual maps that help us navigate life but can never capture the totality of existence. Problems arise when we confuse the symbol with the reality, mistaking our labels and judgments for the thing itself. By recognizing that our maps are limited and provisional, we open ourselves to deeper understanding and to the possibility that reality is richer, stranger, and more expansive than any single perspective can contain. For Korzybski, consciousness is not a passive mirror of reality, but an active process that constructs meaning from raw sensory data. Our nervous systems filter, interpret, and organize information into patterns we can understand. But in doing so, they also leave out far more than they include. As Korzybski explained, the map is not all of the territory. Every perception, thought, and memory is a reduction, an abstraction from an infinite complexity we can never fully grasp. Language plays a central role in this process. It allows us to communicate and build shared realities, but it also shapes what we perceive. The categories we use to describe the world, good and bad, success and failure, self and other, act like mental filters that determine what we notice and what we ignore. By becoming aware of how consciousness constructs meaning, we gain the freedom to revise our maps, question our assumptions, and see beyond the limits of habitual thinking. Korzybski founded the field of general semantics to explore how language influences thought and ultimately shapes human experience. He argued that much of human suffering comes from semantic confusion, mistaking words for the realities they represent. For example, when we define ourselves by rigid labels like failure, success, or victim, we collapse the richness of our lived experience into narrow categories that trap us in fixed identities. Korzybski proposed practices like time binding, the recognition that humanity evolves by transmitting knowledge across generations, and semantic awareness, training ourselves to notice the assumptions hidden in our words. By understanding that language filters reality rather than reflecting it perfectly, we can become more flexible thinkers and compassionate communicators. The goal is not to abandon language, but to use it consciously, realizing that every description is only one possible perspective on an endlessly complex world. Korzybski's insights have profound implications for personal growth and collective evolution. When we realize that our perceptions are models, not ultimate truths, we open ourselves to humility and curiosity. We begin to see that conflicts between individuals, cultures, or even nations often arise because people are operating from different maps of reality, each believing theirs to be absolute. Recognizing this can foster empathy and dialogue instead of judgment and division. Furthermore, Korzybski's work resonates with modern neuroscience and psychology, which show that the brain constructs its version of reality through active interpretation rather than passive observation. By training ourselves to question our mental maps, we gain access to deeper layers of awareness, a spaciousness in which consciousness itself can perceive the interconnectedness of all experience, beyond the limitations of language and concept. In this way, Korzybski's teachings invite us into a more direct, open relationship with reality as it is. Consciousness, in Korzybski's view, is not limited to processing fixed truths, but is a creative force capable of generating new perspectives, new meanings, and new ways of being. Reality, in its fullness, cannot be captured. It must be experienced. To awaken to this is to step beyond rigid categories and into a deeper dialogue with existence, where meaning arises not from control, but from participation.